Welcome back, Unity folks. This is James with a special request from a member who watches the videos. This is part of the 2D platform gaming tutorial, but it is not a scheduled video. This is just me answering a question, and let's get to the question here. Alan, I'm not even going to try your last name because I would butcher it horribly. Alan has requested a bouncy trampoline type effect to try to get to higher platforms or coins, which is a great idea, and good on you, Alan, for thinking that way. That's a game designer's idea right there. I've gone ahead and done that. I've created one right here, and I will show you how it is made. Okay, we've got a box made from a cube with the box collider turned off, and I've just applied the crate texture to it so that we can see it in the window. You can make up a new texture for it if you want to. This box with the collider turned off has three planes around it. It has a bottom plane, a right plane, and a left plane. Now the reason that these planes are here is so that when the player runs into the side, the bottom, or the other side, he can't jump through it because this box does not have a collider. Now above this box I have another one, which is basically the exact same box, just duplicated, and it has the mesh renderer turned off, the box collider turned on, and is a trigger. Okay, and then I've applied the bouncy player script, which we'll go over. In fact, you know what, let's just go ahead and make another version of this, and I will walk you through how it's made. Okay, so what we're going to do is just move our camera over here. We're going to go to game object, create other cube, and I'm just going to scale it so that it looks good in the window, and scale it up a bit. Okay, and then we can move this down and over some. Okay, so now we've got this box. What we're going to do is immediately take it and Control D to duplicate it, and then move the new one up so it sits pretty close but not right on top of it. Okay, so now this box we can turn the mesh renderer off and the trigger on. This is going to be the bouncy part, so we can just name this Bouncy. Okay, and I'm going to put one of these little icons on it so I can see where it is in the game window. Let's make it orange. On the lower cube, we're going to name this, I guess, I don't know, box. Box is good. It's just a box anyway. Okay, so our box object, we do not want a box collider for. And I will tell you why that is, okay? Our game, our 2D platform gaming tutorial, uses the first-person controller, which basically checks below it for a collision object, a collider. If it detects a collider, it stops the player from moving, which means our bouncy box won't work. Okay, and that's why we have these planes surrounding the box. So let's go ahead and add those. So we're just going to grab our box and press F over the scene window so it comes into focus. What we're going to do is game object, create other, plane. Now you can't see the plane because it's facing up. We want it to face down, just like this one over here. So we're going to change it on the Z to 180 degrees. And then we can scale it down because it's obviously way bigger than our box is, and then move it to the bottom. Okay, we can click and drag this plane in the hierarchy panel and attach it to our box object, box right here. And then we're going to take our plane and we're going to duplicate it, move it up on the y-axis. We're just going to move it up, and then we're going to change the Z rotation to 270, and then move it over to the side. We're going to duplicate it again and move it all the way over to the left over here, and then we're going to change the rotation to 90. So this plane faces left, this plane faces right, and this plane faces down. The direction your planes face does matter because planes are one-directional collision objects. Okay, you can run into this side of a plane But if you try to come at it from the other side, you'll just walk right through it, because the collision only happens on one side of the plane. And that makes them perfect for building these little boxes. And the reason that we love making these little boxes is because our player will be coming from the top down, and he will not detect the bottom plane because it's facing the other direction. Okay, so let's get into making this bouncy, get to the good stuff. I've made a script which I've attached to this bouncing cube called bounce player, and we're going to go over that script right now. Here it is. Lots of code. I know, it's crazy complex, right? I've even put in some comment code. You don't need to worry about copying this down. I'm going to go ahead and post it right into the description. We'll start out by declaring our bounce amount, which is how high should we bounce. Pretty clear, right? Then we're going to use the function onTriggerEnter to determine once they've entered that bouncy box. This is the bouncy trigger area. And if the object that has entered that bouncy trigger area is the player, then we want to go ahead and affect the player's bounciness. So first what we're going to do inside here, now that we know the player has hit the bouncy part, is we're going to say grab that player object, because we need the player object in order to access its parts and pieces. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. We're just grabbing the player object. And then we're going to access a part of the first person controller called the character motor. Now this character motor, let me go back to Unity so you can see it. The player here has a character motor script attached. Now the character controller, you would think, controls the movement, but it doesn't. The motor does. Just like a motor moves a car, this motor moves the player. Now the motor is a very, very, very complex amount of script. But it's important that you realize there are certain parts. It's broken down into parts and pieces. It has a part for movement, a part for jumping, a part for moving platform control, and a part for sliding, which we have turned off. The part we're interested in is movement, because it A, controls your gravity, and B, controls your velocity upwards, or your speed in the vertical direction. Okay, so let's go back to the script. You can see here in this line, line 8, the first thing we do is we access the character motor script. So that's what we're doing with p.getComponent, or basically go ahead and grab the character motor script. That's what that part does. And then the next thing we do is we set the vertical speed of the movement object, and we're going to set the vertical speed of our player, that's what this means, the velocity or speed, in the y-axis, that's straight up, to our bounce amount. So we're saying we want to grab our player, take the part of him that moves, the character motor here, we're going to go to the part that helps him move inside that motor, the movement part, and this is the direction where he moves upward, and we want to go ahead and make sure that that's bounce amount. Okay, so if we go back to Unity here, and I take my bouncy object, and I drop that bounce player script in, you'll see we get one option and one option only, the bounce amount. How high do we want our player to bounce? Well, we can set this from anywhere from 1 all the way up to, I don't know, 1,000,000 if you want to. I don't recommend going that high. No, just don't. Okay? It gets really crazy when you go above like 50. So let's go ahead and play with this, and we can set our bouncy box. Actually, let's set our bouncy box up before we go ahead and try it. We're going to take the box object, and we're going to click and drag it under the bouncy object. So now we have the bouncy. It's all one object, so we can move it around as one. Okay, so I'm going to move it over so it's right underneath our player when he spawns. So let's go ahead and change that bounce amount. Let's make it 10. All right. So now if we play, he just sits there and bounces. It looks more like a glitch than a bounce, but there you go. So our normal player's height when we jump, I'd say that's probably about 30 or 40. So let's go ahead and stop this, and we'll change the bounce amount. Let's go with 30. And if we play the game, you can see our player bounces like he's jumping, except we don't have to use the jump button. Okay, so now let's go absolutely crazy with this thing. Let's set it all the way up to 60 and see what happens. And he lands on it, and he shoots almost outside of the map. Yeah. So like I said, you can set this as high as you want. And let me see if I can land on the other one. Oh, this one must be set to like 40. So Alan's request was a bouncy platform to go up and reach coins. So you're going to want to adjust your bouncy platform on how high you want the player to go. Now the great part about building this way, and all as one object, two reasons actually that it's great. One, we can click and drag it into our prefabs so we can use it later on in our other levels. And two is that we can actually take this object and if I can get my camera right here, if we go ahead and duplicate this, we can move a new one over here, and let's go ahead and duplicate another one, and we'll drag that one over here, and then we'll make another one and we'll drag it way up here. Okay, so we got a bunch of bouncies, right? Let's say we want this one to give you 60. We want the first one to only give you 40. And the third one will make, I don't know, another 30. And we'll make the last one way out here. Let's make it something absurd like 200. This is really going to break the game. So when we play the game, he's going to get a 30 size bounce, or a normal jump height. And then we're going to try and hit this one, which will give us a launch. So then we get a choice. Do we want to keep going up, or do we want to take the right path? Okay. You can set each individual bouncy object to its own separate amount. Okay, so he's bouncing, and right now he's actually bouncing a lot higher than, oh, wait, hang on, which bouncy is this we're on? Oh, apparently we set this one to 40, so he's got a pretty tall bounce there, so we're going to go into our game here, and then move over, and we hit this one, and we go way up into 60, right? So if I jump on over to the 20, I get this little bounce. And then I can jump back to 60, and then I'm going to hit 200, and I'm gone. Like, let me zoom out so we can see where the player is. He's way up here. I'm sure you can't even see that little black dot. Way up there. And there he goes again. Let me see if I can get this. Let's highlight the player so we know where he is. So this little gizmo here is going to tell us where the player's at when he hits that 200. And that's how high up he's going. Okay? So if you're building an entirely vertical game, great, put it at 200. If you're building a horizontal game, I recommend staying like 60 or below, because it's pretty crazy at 200. But like I said, that's a simple script and a simple build. I'm going to go ahead and post this video today and put the script right in there, and it's all for Alan. So if you have any wonderful things that you can use this for, you can go ahead and thank him. It's all his idea. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next time.